remembering that it's been mooted or suggested that every character of stories is an aspect of our self, our psyche, our being. Let's invoke what this fairy tale, folk tale, allegory brings up for us in its characters as they represent those aspects. It's the story of Feroza. Feroza was a princess. I wonder what Feroza means. But she was the daughter of the Shah-in-Shah of a great country, a great kingdom. Her mother, the queen, spent most of her time gossiping with the ladies of court, or preening herself in front of the mirror in the latest gown and jewelry that she'd bought. So she had little time for Feroza. But her father, the Shah-in-Shah, would play and taught her how to play chess. And he would challenge her to win. But the Shah-in-Shah spent a lot of time traveling, visiting other kingdoms, or at war. And there was an occasion when her father, the Shah-in-Shah, was away for an inordinately long period of time. She didn't like to play chess with the members of court because they just allowed her to win. And this was no challenge at all. So she was lonely and bored. So she decided that she would go to find her father. So, dressing herself up in boys' costumes so that she could travel, she went to the stables and chose her father's great black stallion, that great horse that had carried her father into wars, which he had won. So, quietly saddling the horse, it was called Selim. I wonder what Selim means. She mounted the horse and rode. She allowed Selim to have his head, not knowing which direction in which she could go. But as she rode, she came to the edge of a great raging river. It was very daunting, but she knew Selim was brave. But just as they were about to enter the river, there was a great roar nearby, and out of the trees came this demon. Fangs, ugly, frightening, and Feroza indeed was very afraid. But she pretended to be brave as she faced this demon. And the demon said, "Where are you going, boy?" And Feroza said, "I'm crossing the river on a quest." The demon said, "Good, then you can take a message to my brother who lives in a castle across the other side." And so, quaking a little in her shoes, Feroza said, "Yes, I'll be glad to do so." And the demon said, "Yes, and just ask for a gift that you might want from him. He's sure to give you a present for bringing the message I want you to tell him. Tell him that I have turned the Shah-in-Shah into a pebble, and he is in my pocket, and I want my brother to come when I take over the Shah-in-Shah's kingdom." So, noting this, Feroza said she would be sure to give the message to the brother. And, riding the brave Selim, she crossed the torrent of the river and came to the other side. She soon came to the castle, and announcing that she had a message for the one who lived there, the gates were opened and she was allowed to enter. She was confronted with a demon that was even more ugly than the one she had met on the other side of the river. But bravely, she announced that she had a message and passed the message on to the brother, who said, "Congratulations to my brother, I'll be there." So this ugly demon said, "Well, what gift can I give you in payment for this message?" And Feroza said, "I would like to have the sharpest sword that can take the head off any of my enemies." Within a moment, Feroza could feel something weighting her hand, and when she looked, there in her hand she had a gleaming sword. Putting it in her belt, she took leave of the demon, mounted the horse Selim, and made her way back the way she came. When she crossed the river, again the first demon came out and accosted her and said, "Well, did you give my brother the message?" And she said, "Yes, he did." "What was it?" said the demon with curiosity. And as he leaned forth to find out what it was that she had, Feroza had taken out the sword and sliced off the demon's head. Dismounting from Selim, she searched through the pockets of the demon and found the pebble, which she carefully placed in her robe and set out back to her home castle. But the way was long, and she had to take shelter in a cave for the night. She had just laid down and was drifting off into sleep with the great stallion Selim keeping guard, when she was awakened by a blazing light. And there in front of her was this gleaming being that said, "Don't you recognize me? I'm your fairy godmother, and I've come to help you change your father back into his true self." And so Feroza took the pebble from her robe and was about to hand it to this being, when Selim, the great horse, whinnied loudly, and in a human voice said, "No, no, do not give. It is not what it seems." And in that instant, what had appeared to be a fairy godmother turned into a female demon that went up in a puff of smoke when she had been discovered as her true form. But in the process, Feroza dropped the pebble, and in the dark was not able to see it. But Selim, her trusty horse, picked up the pebble in his teeth and handed it to Feroza. Feroza said, "Dear Selim, how is it that you can speak with a human voice?" And Selim said, "I am really a prince, and at the age of 18 years old, I inadvertently insulted a sorcerer who cursed me to this form." "Oh," said Feroza, "my dear Selim, I wish that this curse could be broken." But then Feroza mounted the great stallion, and they made their way back to her own kingdom, where they sought out an old wise crone who was known for her magic powers, to seek her help to bring her father back to his form. When they arrived and entered the house of the old crone, she was expecting them. She had seen them in her magic mirror, so she knew what their reason for coming. Her potions, her powders, and her incantations ready, and took out there was great clapping and rejoicing, and the promise of great riches to the old woman. Afterwards, on return to the palace, Feroza put her arms around the neck of the great stallion Selim and said, thank you, my brave and loyal companion. I love you so." And immediately Selim was returned to his form, a tall, handsome, brave prince. And of course, we know the end of this story. They married and had many sons. What do the characters of this story represent for us? Who is the most important character in this story? Each one representing qualities, aspects of ourselves. A king, a queen, a princess, stallion, demons, a pebble. What meaning have they for us? As an allegory, a depiction of a journey, a quest. What does it mean to have the prince and princess wed? What does it mean to have a pebble spellbound, released? What's the purpose of stories? Thank you.